Alright, if you didn't see the last video, my brother and I bought a Caterpillar D4D, sight unseen. The motor was stuck, and as you'll see in this video, it has more problems than that too. So I'm making a video series about us restoring the Dozer. I have a playlist, the link is in the description. This is the second video in the series, and in the first video, all we did was get the motor turning. It was completely locked up when we bought the machine. It turned out that water had gotten in the exhaust and it absolutely destroyed cylinder number 2. So we need to pull the number 2 piston and sleeve out. And the easiest way to do that is pull the oil pan off the bottom of the tractor. So that's what we're working on right now. I think they changed the whole undercarriage. There's no way this is...
Well, they could have put new chains on old sprockets, but...
No, they changed the sprockets.
The rollers are perfect.
They changed the rollers. They changed everything. The whole undercarriage is brand new.
Yeah, the rollers are pretty much perfect.
More. If you bought it all right now, I mean, if you bought it all new, it'd probably be 8 to 10 right now.
Oh, from CAT?
Yeah. Well, no, just from whoever. Right. I don't know if CAT even makes them. I think you gotta buy them from. I don't even think Burko makes them. I think you gotta buy them from a Korean company. Is it still dammed up a little bit?
Oh, it's flowing pretty good now.
Yeah, we don't know if it all melted though.
Here. There's a significant amount of water in the bottom of this, or ice, I mean. I can see if I can get these belly pan bolts loose. Can you give me whatever looks like 1-inch socket for the 3/4?
Here's the 7/8, is that it?
It might be. No, it's 1 inch.
Have any of them moved?
Yeah, that's my first one.
None of them? One. Hopefully it's got a nut on top. So I think it bolts into the frame.
Yeah, it goes right into the frame. The frame's probably threaded. I don't think I need the front one off. I think I need the... There's this separate section back here.
Yeah.
And this is only held in by 4 bolts. And one of them's already off.
Oop. Knock your teeth out.
One broke right off.
Was that the bolt?
Yep.
There's just one back there?
The other one's already out.
Well, you don't want the thing to fall on you.
Yeah.
So there's a two on each side, huh?
Yep. I don't back, no.
Huh?
If you give me his impact thing, I can probably run him down a little bit.
Get the back ones.
Yep, one's broken. This one's already out. This one's already out.
So nothing. So now I probably try.
It won't come down. You have to pry it down.
Might be frozen. Can I get it from here?
I'll go get that yellow pipe too.
Looks like something's holding it.
Is that track closer?
Huh?
Is this track closer to the machine?
Might be. Put this 2x4 in here.
The other side,
Huh?
well, probably like this on the other side. The other side's still up.
Oh. Can you just pry down with the yellow bar sideways?
There, you got it.
Can you get the whole piece?
We gotta get all the ice off of it. Yeah.
Probably just gotta. We could just let that fall. I mean, if it rains on that, that's gonna all fall down overnight.
Yeah. There's no way we're gonna get it all off.
We should put that head in the garage, probably.
Yeah, if we just clear off that table in the middle of the garage, we just put everything in there.
All right, so we got push rods for cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. And the same with the injectors. I don't know if it matters that much if you swap injectors, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And the rockers are setting in the same orientation. So that's cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the way they would set on the dozer. So we're probably going to have this head sent out and have it magnafluxed and everything. Got to get the exhaust manifold off before we do that. And probably take out these bolts. Anything that's kind of like sticking up and you know, can get messed up. Obviously, we're going to need a new head gasket. You never reuse a head gasket anyway, but got a head gasket, and gonna need filters. Alright, so we discovered a problem on the Dozer. Tom and my dad moved it over to this pad. Was over there on that stone pile. They just dragged it with the backhoe. Apparently it worked all right. We checked the rear end oil here, and there was nothing in it. And then I realized why there's nothing in it. The stuff on the ground is it didn't leak. Just a pan got kicked over. That would be why there's nothing in it. So that's really not good. You know, that's supposed to be a cover here, and it's all cracked on this end. We think most likely what happened is something broke in there, either a bearing disintegrated or a tooth broke or something, and got jammed in there and forced itself apart. Got caught in the bull gear, went around, got stuck in the pinion, and blew the back end apart. So we either have to weld that back up or source another entire rear end casting, because this entire thing is one casting. Either way, it's going to be a lot of work. So now we just moved the Dozer over this way a little bit, and that's just so we have more space on this side, because we got to take the tracks off. We don't know if we're going to even put the tracks back on this machine. We might strip this machine down, get another machine that needs undercarriage and everything, and just put everything from this machine on the new one. Or we might fix this one. It depends how bad it is when we get in there. 1 1/8 feels slightly loose. But 1 1/16 is too tight. I guess I'm probably gonna need to break your bar for that. Did you get it?
Make a turn, but it's trying to push the wrench up. Tension.
Do it now, just broke free.
Ready? I think I caught on my jacket. Yeah, I mean, we just keep trying to move it. I don't know how late you want to do this for. You know, do you have a lot of wood to do?
I don't have that much.
If you want to start doing wood, I can move it the rest of the way, and then we can figure out where we're at.
All right.
So we're not...
I pretty much want to get the pin knocked out, and that's probably it for today.
Okay.
Maybe start taking off some of the sheet metal, but
Well, so the pin ended up over here, I think. This one. So
yeah,
if we're
that's what I mean. We gotta jack it up and roll it.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to get it over a little more, because once we get the pin off, I don't think we're just gonna slide nearly as easily. And I'd really like it to be kind of so you're on a pad on both sides.
Yeah.
Means we have to get all the way over there. Typically, I would just put it in gear, pull the right steering clutch, and then drive it this way, but the pinion is sheared or something in there. I already tried moving the steering, you know. It's dead in there.
Yeah, so the only way to move it now is with a bottle jack, I guess.
Yeah. I was able to get the other side to move just with the torque of my hand. Which is good. This side is a no-go.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not, the bearings in the sprocket here are probably destroyed.
Yeah. Alright, it's been about a week since my last clip was recorded. So I'm doing a voiceover now just because the wind when I recorded this clip that you're watching right now was so bad that you cannot hear me talk at all in the clip. We really didn't get much farther than what you saw. We tried pounding the pin out with a sledgehammer. Tom got that track pad off out of the way so we could get to the pin, but it would not come out. A few days later, Tom and my dad ended up getting it out, but they had to use a lot of heat. The pin was so rust-jacked in place that it was really hard to remove. They ended up getting it out, but it was like, it took them all day to get one pin out. And you can see here, they didn't even get it all the way out. So they got the track frame off and the track chain off.
Next thing we have to do is get what's called the holder off. And that's the cylinder part on the outside there. And there's a nut behind it. It's a real fine thread nut that you're supposed to be able to turn. And just turning that nut should push the holder off the shaft. But when this rear end blew up, that holder got turned and it actually smashed the key. And it's really stuck. So me and Tom are about to try all sorts of tricks to try to get it off. So we got this spanner wrench from OTC Tools. I think the original spanner that you're supposed to use was actually a CAT model. Actually, I didn't even ask CAT if they still sell the tools, but I'm sure they'd be way too expensive. So we start by putting the spanner on, couldn't move it. Then we put a pipe on. We try putting a jack on the end of the pipe at one point. We try using an air hammer to push it while we have torque on it with the wrench. If the machine would run, the easiest thing to do would be just put the wrench on it and then run the machine around, and that would work the nut off, but we can't do that. let go. All right, so nothing broke there. The wrench just slipped off of the nut and the holder did not break free. So what we're trying to get off here is called a holder in the book. I think it's like a bearing holder, but the book literally just calls it a holder. Anyway, we're trying to get the holder off the shaft. And at this point, we've tried everything we can short of getting a puller and putting it on there. So we're giving up for the day. Now, what happened after this, a couple days later, Tom borrowed I think a 50-ton puller, 3-jaw puller from work, and he put that on and had the nut torqued all the way like that. And he was beating on it with a hammer trying to get it to break free. And one of his hammer swings did break it free. And it shot from where the dozer is right there all the way across the concrete pad in front of the garage. Unfortunately, we did not get that on video. Tom was just doing it after work one day. I wasn't there to film, and he wasn't filming at the time. And all he said to me when he got it off was he's glad he wasn't standing in front of it when it let go. If you're standing in front of that, that would break your legs easily. Whenever you're working on heavy equipment like this, there is always a danger. So after this clip, I was not able to help work on the bulldozer for a long time, so I don't have any footage. But we did manage to find a solution to our broken final drive housing problem. So it's been a while since I've been able to record anything, and my dad and my brother have been working on stuff off camera just because I haven't had a chance to get down here. But we picked this thing up about 2 weeks ago. Or no, 4 weeks ago. See, it's been a while. So me, my dad, and my friend Justin went down and picked this up in Pennsylvania. It was about a 3.5 hour drive each way. And it took the guy about 3 hours to pick it up and put it on the trailer once we got there. He had a real old CAT excavator that had a completely shot undercarriage, and this machine as it sits was just barely past what it really could do. So he did eventually pick it up, but it took a while. So it's an angle blade. It's a 10-footer. Our other blade is an 8-footer, so now we got a 10-footer and an 8-footer. One does angle, one does tilt, so we got basically everything covered. So the machine is the way it is, no undercarriage on it. That's how we bought it. The engine has a pretty big hole in it. So the story on this machine, at least what I've been told, is an old farmer owned it. He blew this machine up 30 or 40 years ago. It immediately got parked in a shed. It stayed in that shed for 30 or 40 years until last summer. The old farmer passed away, and then his wife sent the machine to auction. It did still have the undercarriage and everything on it at that point. The only thing that was wrong with it was it had that hole in the block. So last year somebody bought it at auction and cut the undercarriage off it to put on their machine. But everything else on the machine is good, except the motor, of course. The guy that I bought it from had bought it himself because he knew of another machine that needed a blade. So he was gonna take this machine, take the blade off it, put it on the other machine, then he'd have a running machine with a blade. But the second machine that he knew of that needed a blade was unavailable by the time he bought this machine. So he needed to sell it. He didn't have any reason to have a D4D. He didn't own any other D4Ds, so sold it to us. And so our plan is take the motor out of that, which the motor's already out of that. Like I said, they've been working on it for like a month. So motor's out of that. And then take the undercarriage off of that and put the undercarriage and motor on this, and we got a good running machine. Everything's good on it, as far as we know anyway. We're not really tearing into the back end unless we have to. And the thing was, this thing's actually in really nice shape for its age. It's been parked inside, so that does wonders for you. So yeah, it's got all the original panels and everything. It's got everything. It obviously doesn't have the undercarriage panels because it didn't have an undercarriage on it, but our other machine actually does have all the undercarriage panels. So between the two, we have everything. Also, this did not have a hood, I don't think, but we have a hood, so we should have a full, complete machine here. I also came with 3/4 of a tank of diesel, which these days is worth quite a lot of money. So we're at the stage now where we got to get this master link out of here, and man, is it stuck. So Tom and my dad got the other one off of this off camera previously, right? And it took all the hammering that anybody could do, plus all the heat that you could possibly put into it. Now this machine also sat for like 30 years, so I think what happened, one of two things happened. Either this pin was way oversized and they just pressed it in with a ridiculous heavy press, which is possible. They're not supposed to be this hard to get out. Or the second thing that may have happened is this fit correctly when they put it together, but it's rust jacked a little bit around the pin for 30 years or 40 years or whatever, and now it is tight. And I mean tight, so that's going to be a problem. So my dad's going to get a bigger sledgehammer. Okay, we got the link out. It took a ridiculous amount of hammering, and it was not very interesting to watch, so I did not film it. Yeah, so here's one of the track frames. My dad just got the tensioner all taken apart. Surprisingly, it looks like it probably should hold grease. Probably will put seals in it anyway, but I don't think we have to put the seals in it, but we might. Just because it's very difficult. Well, not very difficult, but it is a job to get the tracks back off, to put a seal in tensioner if we have to do that. So this spring is broken, as you can tell, and we're gonna do nothing about that. We're just gonna run it. I think it should be fine. If we have issues with the undercarriage, we can always change the spring at a later date. But part of our problem is this, there's a threaded rod in here that this big nut goes on, and the rod is so corroded that it barely has any threads left, and we don't think that we're going to be able to tighten this enough to relieve pressure on the spring. So basically what happens is you tighten this nut really tight, and it compresses the spring and allows you to take this out of here. That spring is under a ridiculous amount of tension, so if those threads were to fail while we were taking it out, it could kill somebody. It's got a lot of energy in there. So the safest thing to do is just leave it alone. Another thing you can do is you can cut the spring in a bunch of spots, and that'll relieve the pressure little by little. And then once the spring is cut enough, then it's not under tension at all. You can pull it right out and replace it. But we don't want to cut the spring if it can still work as it is. We're just going to leave it alone and change it later if we have to. All the wear parts of the undercarriage are in really good shape on this. So apparently the guy who owned this machine had fairly recently put this undercarriage on when we assume what happened is the rear end blew up. So the undercarriage was not on super long. They may have assembled something incorrectly that resulted in the rear end to blow up. We're not sure. So this is the track tensioner. It looks like it's in relatively good shape. It's not super smooth inside, but it's not rough. And the seal actually looks like it's fine. I'll see how much a seal kit is for this. If it's cheap, definitely replacing it. If it's like hundreds of dollars, which with old machines, who knows? It really could be anything, any amount of money. If it's real expensive or they're just real hard to find, then I'm not going to replace it because this is definitely serviceable. So there's the motor. The head's not on it. The head's over there. They did pick it up with this cherry picker here, so apparently that worked. It's probably not possible to pick that up with the head on it. And we are going to have to pick that up enough to put it on the machine on the trailer. So we're going to have to use the backhoe, probably. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that part of our plan, which may be a little bit... You may think is a crazy plan, but it's pretty much the only option we have. We're going to fully assemble the machine right where it sits. So this is going together on the trailer, and then we can drive it off the trailer. Because if we don't do that, we have no way of getting this thing off. We can't pick it up. We don't have the means. We could call somebody with a crane or a very big excavator to come take it off for us, but that would be prohibitively expensive. So yeah, it's going together how it sits, and then it's going to drive off. It'd be nice if it had undercarriage on it, because then we could have just towed it off. Although if it did have an undercarriage on it, it would have overrated my trailer for driving down the highway. So this trailer is a 14,000 pound payload rating trailer, and that thing with tracks on it is a lot more than 14,000 pounds. Alright, I think that's about as good a place as any to end this video. So at this point we have our first dozer most of the way taken apart, and now we have a second parts dozer that we can use to get one fully functioning running machine. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.